Hello folks, Alex here. This is Alex Unabridged, and today I'm doing the birth year book tag. So yes, welcome or welcome back to the channel if that is the case. Yes, what's this, I hear you ask? A tag, not on Tag Tuesday. Yes, it's Sunday today. It's Sunday the 16th of April, and it's my birthday today. Well, when this goes out, I'm filming this a couple of days before. So I thought I would do the birth year book tag on my birthday. That seemed appropriate. I saw this one a while ago and really liked it. And decided to save it for now. I think it's quite old now, probably just over a year old or something. And it was originally created by Olly over at Crim and Olly. So yes, let's crack on with the prompts. So prompt number 1 is: have you read any books published in the year you were born? I was born in 1981, so I'm 42 today. And yes, I've read from fiction. I have read Red Dragon by Thomas Harris, George's Marvellous Medicine by Roald Dahl, and Goodnight Mr. Tom by Michelle Magorian. And non-fiction wise, I have read Simulacra and Simulation by Jean Baudrillard. Second part of question 1 is: if so, what's your favourite and why? My favourite is, out of those, without a doubt, Red Dragon. It's, I'd seen Silence of the Lambs as a film, but I'd never read any of the Hannibal Lecter books, and my sister suggested them last year, I believe. And so I started with the first one, of course, Red Dragon, and loved it, absolutely loved it, and it spurred me on to read the others. I particularly like the killer in this, other than Lecter, of course, the Tooth Fairy. I do like Will Graham as a character as well, but not as much as Clarice Starling that we get in book 2, of course, in Silence of the Lambs. And I really like how it just how Dollarhide kind of is obsessed with the painting. The painting itself I find intriguing. The Great Red Dragon and the Woman Clothed in Sun by William Blake, I believe. It's just got it's got a real kind of sinister sinister tone to it, and there were some great sort of set pieces. It's our first introduction to Lecter, who is a fantastic character. And yeah, it was just one that just grabbed me and just kept me reading. I ripped through that one. It was a really, really enjoyable read. Part 3 of question 1. Do you have any other favourites? I would say George's Marvellous Medicine is probably, it's certainly one of the ones from my childhood that I would say is a favourite. It's not the one I know the best of Roald Dahl's. I think The Witches is probably the one that I know the best, or Charlie and the Chocolate Factory. But it's a great book. I would quite like to see what they've done to it after, with the recent updating, shall we say, of Roald Dahl's work. Because that one particularly, the stuff that goes into the medicine is absolutely horrific. In terms of what it could do to you if you actually, if a kid mixed this at home. It's got things like antifreeze and stuff like that in it, rat poison. So yeah, and I think they had to put in like a warning in the book to start with, when it came out, to say don't make this, don't try making this at home and drinking it or giving it to something you don't like. So yeah, I'd like to see kind of what they've done with that. But yeah, it's another classic Roald Dahl, young kid, George Cranky, who's 8, concocts his own elixir to replace the medication of his tyrannical grandmother, and chaos and capers ensue. So yeah, that one I always found, you know, very entertaining as a kid. And part 4 of question 1 is if you haven't read any birth year books, which do you pledge to read in the next 6 months, and why have you chosen it? I have read birth year books, but I will mention one and pledge to read it, certainly this year, and that is Cujo by Stephen King. It's one of the Stephen Kings that I've not read, and that is generally because anything with animals I'm a little wary of, especially where I know, you know, the animal's gonna, you know, it's not gonna end well for the dogs particularly. So I've kind of put it off. So yeah, I'm gonna read that probably in October when I've got a little project lined up for reading a load of stuff that so far I've been too scared to read. So yes, October, is that within 6 months? Where are we now? 4? Yeah, yes, 6 months. So there we go. Yes, I can do it within the 6 months. Prompt number 2. Have you read any books published the year you turned 18? Yes, I have. So I turned 18 obviously in 1999. I've read from fiction. I've read Harry Potter and the Prisoner of Azkaban, Hannibal by Thomas Harris, and The 13.5 Lives of Captain Bluebear, which is number 1 in the Zamonia series, and that's by Walter Moers. Non-fiction, I've read The Code Book, The Science of Secrecy from Ancient Egypt to Quantum Cryptography by Simon Singh. Part 2 of question 2 is what is your favourite of those and why? And that has to be The 13.5 Lives of Captain Bluebear, which I have here. This is it's a nice chunky book, but it's not just full of text. It is beautifully put together. It's set on the fictional continent of Zamonia, which, according to the book, was part of Earth before what is called the Great Descent, when Zamonia and other continents sink beneath the waves. It's full of fantastical creatures, including maenads, trolls, yetis, griffons. So it draws from like folklore and mythology as well as like prehistory. It references things like Atlantis, the lost city of Atlantis. But it's really charming. It's a really charming book, this one. And as I say, it's like there's a ton of visual stuff in this. Moers was a cartoonist, a noted cartoonist, and so all of the illustrations are by him. And so you've got like wonderful hand-drawn maps, which I always appreciate in a book set in a kind of a fictional kind of setting. Its layout is really interesting. It changes font size quite a bit. It changes, you know, actual typefaces. You know, kind of, you've got different typefaces kind of running throughout it. You've got, as I say, fantastic illustrations of the creatures and some of the settings and the characters. You've got, like, you know, sort of that kind of layout, things like that. It's just really visually interesting. And if you haven't read it, I thoroughly recommend it, that one. Okay, prompt number 3. Of the last 10 books you read, how many were published before you were born? Out of the last 10 I read, that would be 2 books, which were Animal Farm from 1945 and The Body in the Library by Agatha Christie, which was from 1942. And the second part is, did I prefer them to the newer books? No. Animal Farm is a classic. That one, yeah, that one's a fantastic book. But in the Library, it was decent, but no, I think I'm much more of a slightly more modern reader. I think, you know, sort of 1970s, 80s, I think is generally where I tend to start, and then kind of, you know, come forward in time from there. So yeah, like the other sort of other stuff that I've read, out of that 10 would be things like Hellbound Heart, so that's like 1986, Clive Barker. Fierce Femmes and Notorious Liars, that's, you know, kind of reasonably recent, I think, in the last few years. 7 Deaths of Evelyn Hardcastle, I think that was like 2017, 2018, something like that. Legends and Lattes, that's pretty recent. You know, the most of them are kind of reasonably recent, or, you know, especially when it comes to horror, 70s, 80s, 90s. It tends to be where I go for that. So yeah, no, not the ones that I've read that were published before I was born, I wouldn't say I prefer them. Question number 4, what is your favourite movie from your birth year and why? That would be Raiders of the Lost Ark, Indiana Jones, because who doesn't love a bit of Indiana Jones? My favourites out of all the movies that have come out in 1981. It's just fun. It's one I remember from childhood just always loving when it was, you know, on TV. It was just the right amount of sort of tension and, you know, few little sort of jump scares, things like that. It was funny. It was, you know, adventurous. Great score. Yeah, it was a good family film, and it was one that was enjoyed over and over and over again. Prompt number 5, what is your favourite movie from the year you turned 18 and why? This one was a bit more difficult because I'd seen more and enjoyed more, but I think I really liked The Green Mile, the adaptation of the Stephen King novel. I loved Being John Malkovich. I remember really enjoying that. That was quite a trip, and funny as well. But I think the favourite has to be The Matrix, the first Matrix film. Can't remember whether I saw that at the cinema or whether I had, you know, I got it when it was, you know, out for rent. And I liked it back then because it was just a cool action movie, you know, action sci-fi, and had some cool concepts and things like that in it. But then I started to appreciate it more once I'd kind of studied some philosophy and read things like Simulacra and Simulation, and, you know, sort of seeing the references in The Matrix to some of the stuff that I'd read, and starting to kind of think about it more in terms of things like reality theory and stuff like that, which I've really got into. Yeah, then it became like there was another level to it, and I enjoyed like just looking at it, you know, with a sort of a fresh set of eyes, if you like. And it's also still just a really good sci-fi action movie, you know. And I always like a bit of Keanu Reeves and a bit of Carrie-Anne Moss, to be fair. So yes, I think it's got to be The Matrix. I watch that pretty regularly. I would say probably at least once a year. If not more than that. It's kind of a comfort film, you know. It's just one of those that kind of goes on, and I can just have, you know, instant enjoyment. So that is it for the prompts for the birth year book tag. I won't tag anybody in this because, as I say, it's quite an old tag, and I just wanted to do it because it was a nice little thing for me to do for my birthday. So yes, if you want to do it, obviously. I'll put the prompts in the description down below and give it a crack. But yes, that is it from me today. I will be back soon with more bookish ramblings and a little trip book shopping as well in the coming week. So there'll be a nice book haul coming very, very soon, I should think. But yes, from me, for now, that's ta-ra.